Reading with your kids.
Hola, niho, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, moni mili wanji, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so happy and so very honored that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show, and please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, wherever you find your podcast. Our guest today is Chanel Miller. She is here to celebrate Kid Day Cuisine, Hadassah's Breakfast Delights. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by The Moon from Dehradun, a story of partition written by Shireen Shamsi. This is a really, really powerful book inspired by the author's family story. This lyrical, moving picture book is a testament to the strength, courage, and perseverance of the over 15 million refugees displaced by the largest forced migration in recorded history. And it shares a young girl's journey from her old home to her new one. This is a really, really powerful story that will inspire lots of fantastic conversations in your home. It belongs in your family library. It belongs in every classroom library. Get your copy today. The Moon from Dehradun, a story of partition by Shireen Shamsi. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Snoodles in Space, a snoodle, the Zoodle Cadoodles, and one happy schmoodle, written by our friend and award-winning author Stephen Joseph. I love this book. It is amazing. In this book, when the Zoodle Cadoodles from the planet Zoodle abduct Norman Noodle and Sally Strudel, the Zoodle Cadoodles threaten to take all of Earth's noodles unless they perform the necessary brain operation on their grand leader, Cloodle the Grand Roodle, and fix the spaceship's failing engines. One problem, Norman Noodle and Sally Strudel are simply fakers. Sauerkraut's pickly, peppered, purple, propulsion-powered pickle invention is their only hope. But will he unite with Herbie Schnoodleman to save the planet? The answer is here in this wackadoodle tale from outer space. We love this book. You're going to love it too. It is Stephen Joseph's latest book, Snoodles in Space, a snoodle, the Zoodle Cadoodles, and one happy schmoodle. Join us right now from right outside of Atlanta in the great state of Georgia. Our guest is here today to celebrate book number 1 in what she expects will be a 3-book series. It's called Kid Day Cuisine, Hadassah's Breakfast Delights. Please welcome to the show, Chanel Miller. Chanel, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm really hungry. Just thinking about these breakfast delights is, making my mouth water.
Well, that's a good sign because mouth watering means ordering the book. So, hey.
There you go. There you go. So one of the things that really caught my eye about this series, before we jump in and learn specifically about this book, is that you've designed the series to give kids an opportunity to get into the kitchen and start cooking, not necessarily totally independently, but with as little help from adults as possible. Am I right about that?
That is absolutely correct. I always say a child as young as 3 can cook almost independently. I always put that word almost because it's a kitchen. A kitchen is a dangerous place. So we want to always make sure an adult is there to help guide and instruct, make sure everything is safe. But as it pertains to the recipes itself, a child can pretty much do it independently. The pictures, it comes with bright, bold pictures so they can follow along and do the recipe without any words or any additional help. So yes, that is correct.
Well, I love that because we have a big push here at the Reading with Your Kids podcast to encourage families to cook with their kids. In fact, we have a little segment on a little spot on our website called Cooking with Your Kids, because I really think that reading with your kids, that's the foundation. That's the starting point to everything else, to cooking with your kids, drawing with your kids, creating with your kids, watching movies with your kids, traveling around with your kids. And I was sharing with Chanel a picture of me and my daughter of a really special moment that happened to us in Atlanta. But we also have a really neat picture of my son, who's now 30 years old and a fantastic cook, of him up on a chair, and we were cooking pancakes together when, like I said, when he was like 3 years old.
Yes.
And
yes,
it's such a really special thing to be able to do, and be with your kids and give them some skills that they're going to love doing, but also it's going to really make a difference in their life.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of our goals with the cookbook, is to have it to make differences in children's lives and also to facilitate that parent-child interaction. I grew up with my mom reading to me, and we read almost every night when she could. And it was just really special for me. And that's why even in this cookbook, I incorporated reading as well. So each recipe starts off with a short story about Hadassah and her friends. And they go on wonderful cooking adventures or just adventures learning about life. And so I put the story there to kind of encourage parents to, in the morning before breakfast, sit down, spend some time with your kiddo so you and your child can go through, read the story. And at the end of the story, it always asks whatever recipe we're on. So that's the blueberry muffin recipe. It's, do you want to make blueberry muffins with Hadassah as well? And so then it just kind of segues into the recipe. But I am a proponent of reading with your kids and spending as much time with your kiddo as possible. And sometimes that can be as simple as sharing a story, having time in the kitchen, doing a little activity together. I think sometimes it doesn't have to be this grandiose thing, right? Like it can just be something simple as, cooking and reading together. So this is close to my heart.
You're so right. There are moments in a lot of parents talk to me and they're like, oh, I dread when my kid gets to be 13 or 14. I have to have that conversation with them. They talk about driving and they just stress out about these moments they think are so monumental in their kids' lives when the kids get older. But if you're doing what you're talking about right now, sitting down and making the blueberry muffins and sharing a story and telling a little bit about what happened to you when you were a kid and reading books together, and then you're cooking together and you're watching TV together, suddenly those conversations, they're going to happen naturally. And it's not going to be this one giant conversation. It's going to be an ongoing conversation. When you're talking to your kids about blueberry muffins, you're starting a conversation about what they put in their body and the good things they put in their body and stuff that they shouldn't be putting in their body. And it just, it makes perfect sense when you sit down and you think about it like that. But I think there's so many stresses that parents experience today. They think that everything is, everything is one big giant thing. We have to take them one at a time, and that's not the way to do it.
Right, absolutely. And it's like anything, right? Practice makes perfect. And it's kind of, I guess you don't kind of think of that with your kids, but if I'm already used to having these conversations and spending this time with my child, even if it comes to a more serious conversation once they get older, I have already developed this relationship, right? I have already been used to having conversations with my child. So sometimes that having your feet wet, so to speak, kind of makes those bigger conversations a little bit easier. And if you think about it, even a 7-year-old may have a big problem, right? Some kid bullied me on the playground. Like, it may not be big to us, but to, a 7-year-old who's sensitive, that is a big conversation itself. So even though that may be a little bit easier for us parents to talk about, but I think, developing those relationships, having those mini big conversations, so to speak, early on in life kind of preps us for the bigger ones later. So yes, yeah. I think, I'm all about having spending that time having those conversations early. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and you've probably experienced this too, when you have these ongoing conversations, when the big issues pop up, the kids can almost figure out what you're going to say. There were many times when we sat down, we started conversations, and my kids finished my sentences for me. And I'm like, my job is done, guys.
Yes, so my kids are still little, so sometimes they're finishing their conversations as mocking me, like, Mommy's gonna say, I hear them talking to their sisters, like, Mommy says it like this, and I'm like, okay, guys, but yeah, that is the hope when they get older, instilling what I am now will kind of be a precursor for better things in the future. So
yeah. So Hadassah is somebody really special in your life. This isn't just a fictional character that you pulled out of your brain.
No, it's not. So Hadassah's Breakfast Delights is named after my oldest daughter, Hadassah. And so, as you mentioned before, my goal is to have this be a 3-book series, and I have 3 kids. So Hadassah's the oldest. Shani is my second oldest, and Yaya, or Yedida, is my youngest, my little 3-year-old. And that was the goal because I really wanted to establish something for them. I'm a homeschool mom, so we do a lot of things together. We teach, we have activities, and I really was looking for something to kind of fit into our lives with things we already do now. And so this book actually came up because my oldest, Hadassah, she loves to cook. Like, ever since she was 3 or 4, she loved to cook. So when she was younger, she goes, Mommy, I want to cook in the kitchen. We've already been doing it. So I'm like, okay, let me find something for her. I want to get her a gift. And so I'm looking on Amazon because I have this idea in my head. Like, I want it to be something for her, not for me, for her to help me, but just something specifically for her to do and cook in the kitchen. And so, we had I had this bake oven growing up. We had these things, but I wanted to be something, not particularly like that, something that she can actually do in my kitchen, together. So I went on internet search, and I searched on Amazon, and Amazon has everything in my life. Like, everything. Amazon doesn't have it for me. It just really doesn't exist. So, but I couldn't find it. I couldn't find what I was looking for. And so, at the time, so this is about 2 years ago. So this has been a long journey. Until now. So I was talking to my friend on the phone, Faith P, who is a mom extraordinaire herself, and she just encouraged me. She goes, you should make it. I'm like, maybe one day. She goes, no, you're a good writer. I've always written since I was a kid. And she was like, you're a wonderful mom. Just do it. I'm like, okay, maybe one day. She goes, no, do it. I said, okay. So that started my journey, to just kind of making this book. And so, like I said, the goal behind it is to have a child as young as 3 be able to cook almost independently. So each book features bright, bold pictures. Like, for example, instead of saying add 1 cup flour with words and text, it's a picture of a bag of flour and a picture of a 1 cup. So the child can know 1 cup of flour by the pictures. And what's also cool is that the measuring cups in the book are color coded, and you get it with the kit. So instead of it just having a picture of a 1 cup, it is a green 1 cup. And you can look at it and say, oh, wait, and find the 1 cup in your kit, and then you measure. And so, like I said, I'm a homeschool mom. So my goal was to kind of facilitate learning as well. So it works on counting and, as you can see, colors, and all these things to kind of help teach as well. Within the kit, it also comes with a child-safe knife, apron and hat, a dry erase pen because it's white clean friendly. And so this has a lot of cool aspects in the kit for kids to cook almost independently. So, yeah.
Man, I wish that were around when I was baking my first cake. We were using, me and my cousin, we were Cub Scouts at the time, and we knew there was this project coming up, and we thought, oh, we'll do this and we'll surprise our parents. And I'm looking at the instructions, and it said add 3/4 of a cup of water, but I didn't know it was 3/4. I thought it meant 3 or 4 cups of water. And so we went with 4 cups, and you can probably imagine what the oven looked like.
Oh, no. No. Yes. So yeah, it's a really cool project. Like, hopefully you and the listeners can tell it's something really close to my heart. I really wanted to get something that kids can enjoy and feel proud of. One of those things I know, especially with working with my daughters, they feel so accomplished when they can say, I did it all by myself. And I wanted to not only have that feeling for them, but to allow other children and other parents to have their children feel that same feeling of accomplishment. I think that's great when you talk about kids advancing and developing these independent skills that kind of carry them on throughout life, and starting something with so simple as cooking. I think, at least for us, was a good starting place, for just a good starting place. Okay?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No.
So
I think it's a great starting place, and it's a practical skill. It's something that kids are going to be able to utilize their entire lives, and not only be able to feed themselves, but be able to feed their friends, be able to feed their families. And you think about it. The gold medal that everybody wins when they're in dance class or in soccer, that's great, and it's going to collect dust on the until the kid gets to college and they throw it out. But the experience of cooking those blueberry muffins and learning how to cook those blueberry muffins, that's something that's going to be with them. They'll be cooking for their friends in the dorm, and they'll be cooking for their families, and they're always going to be remembering, I first did this with my mom or my dad.
Right. And that's the goal, right? I always say making wonderful meal memories. And the cool thing about the kit is it really doesn't stop at the recipes. Like I said, we had the story at the beginning. It's the recipes cooking, but at the end of each recipe, there's also a review section. Like I said, I wanted to make it educational as well. So I may ask a question like, each blueberry muffin had 5 blueberries. If you were to add 3 more, how many would you have? And so it goes through and it hits those elements as well. And another cool aspect is always a fun fact at the end, like 3 fun facts I believe that I have at the end of each recipe to learn cool things like there's a National Pancake Day, or United States produces the most blueberries or something. Like, there's always something interesting to learn. And also, we don't stop there. You say, hey, that's cool, but we also have an activity page at the end of each recipe so that your kiddos can, enjoy and just have a fun time learning, or, using their imagination and playing a cool game. So it's like, it's not just a cookbook. It's this whole activity kit that you get to be involved with your child. So by the time that you end one recipe, you guys read together, you cook together, you learn together, they play the activity, all while working with your kid, allowing them to also be independent. So, my goal was to kind of just have it in a one-stop shop in the sense to, get this time with your kiddo. And so we're really excited about it.
And there might be a parent out there that's thinking to themselves, well, this is great for Chanel. She's a homeschool mom, and I bet you lots of homeschool moms will love this. But my kids go to public school. My kids go to parochial school. But you need this. Because it doesn't matter where your kids are learning, you are, as a parent, you are your kid's first and most important teacher. And what a great resource to have in your home. Something like this that not only has some stories that you can read together and talk about, an activity that you can do and teach some practical skills, and then also use that moment of cooking to talk about math and talk about all the other great things that are going on in kids' lives. So, congratulations.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm really excited. And just to your point about kiddos that aren't homeschooled, I think this kit will be even more useful for kids that are in and like, I shouldn't say regular school, but in your more traditional settings, this is a breakfast. So this first book is breakfast, right? But I think establishing, if you have that time in the morning to establish that routine, even if you only do 1 or 2 aspects of the kit, and to kind of have your child off send them off with a good foundation to say, when I send you off in the world, but to know that they can always come home to this good solid foundation that they had, and it starts their day off, with a smile and, spending time with their parents when you're not going to be around them all day. And it gives them something to look for when they come home to, I got to spend this time with my mom before. I think it's a good, lead off your day as well.
Yeah.
So.
I was I exhibited at a homeschool convention a couple of years ago. And it was a very interesting experience. It was huge. I was amazed at how many people, thousands of people were at this event. And we talked to a lot of kids there. And the one thing, when I asked the kids, what is it about homeschool that you like so much? Every single one of the kids that I asked that question to said, because I get to spend time with my mom, I get to spend time with my dad, they're my best friend. And I thought and these aren't we're not just talking about 3-year-olds. We're talking about kids that were in a high school age. And it was beautiful. And you don't have to be a homeschool parent to have that kind of relationship with your kid. Like Chanel just said, you can do these things. It's something your kids can look forward to at home when they get home. So I'm very excited. I'm also excited. You mentioned blueberry muffins, which I love. But what other kind of recipes are we going to find in Hadassah's Breakfast Delights?
So there are 10 different recipes, and I better pull out. So we have parfaits. There's a pancake recipe in there. We have pancake roll-ups. There's a baked pancake recipe. There's a lot of different cool things. And so my mind is, there's a smoothie, overnight oatmeal. What else? We have a casserole dish in there. Raspberry waffle sandwiches. So it's a lot of different cool, recipes that you and your kid can do, and a lot of them, some are simple. They range from like very, very simple to I think maybe the hardest one, maybe like a casserole that has to bake. But, so some recipes do like use the oven. And so what cool thing that we have in the book is I tell parents to watch out for the different icons. So there's a picture of like a little mom icon, to let you know that this is a step as far as like turning on the stove and placing something in the stove that only the parent can do. So like the very simple to where there are no mom icons. So the kiddo can just feel free to do the whole recipe without, any of the quote unquote dangerous steps, if that makes sense.
Well, that certainly makes sense to me, and it certainly makes sense to me to ask you where we can go to find out more about Hadassah's Breakfast Delights. It's a great thing. We have to check it out.
So you can visit us on our website at them3, I'm also on Facebook and Instagram as them3andme, 3, not spelling it out. And that's just the handle on both Instagram and Facebook. The cookbook isn't currently out now. It launches October 24th. So we have a cool pre-order going on right now to where you get a couple cool downloads. You get a visual grocery shopping list. So we kind of kept with that element. Like if your kiddo wants to help with grocery shopping, everything is in picture form so they can make their little list with pictures, check marks. So we have a cool pre-order campaign going on right now. You can check it out on the website. And the book launches officially October 24th.
We've had a really fun time speaking to the author of Kid Day Cuisine, Hadassah's Breakfast Delights. Our guest has been Chanel Miller. Chanel, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Max Brooks. He'll be here to celebrate Minecraft, the Village. That's the next episode of the show. Hey, I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we're going to start by thanking our guest, Chanel Miller. Please be sure to check out her Kid Day Cuisine series. Also want to thank our sponsors, Stephen Joseph, Snoodles in Space. And, of course, a big thank you to Shireen Shamsi, the author of The Moon from Derridin, a story of petition. I want to thank my amazing team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Soji Franklin, Ann O'Leary. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.